it's good to play around with definitions of mental health because when we do that, we realize that they're all pretty inadequate. And what we also realize is that we don't actually have a clue what mental health is, even though we feel that we ought to, because it seems like something that should be obvious. It isn't obvious at all. Nothing's obvious, really. If something seems obvious, it just means you're not really looking at it properly. As soon as you look at anything, stuff stops becoming obvious. And the reason for that is that thinking mind oversimplifies the world, it oversimplifies the universe, and it presents us with its oversimplification. And we kind of go, yeah, okay, I get that, that's easy. But the only reason we kind of get it is because it's so oversimplified. And if it wasn't oversimplified, we'd be sitting there for hours with holes in our heads trying to process it. Because that's what reality, the reality of anything, all reality, our own reality, the world's reality, any sort of reality is complex. It can't just be opened and utilized. It can't just be, it's not just like something that we can read a little instruction manual and get on with it, which is kind of what we want. But that whole idea is stupid. So supposing, for example, life did come with a little thing that you have to read, a guide, so that we don't waste time making mistakes. So then I get this little leaflet, this little guide, and then I take the time to read it without rushing in. And then when I live my life, I'll do it properly. I'll know what to do. But this is weird because the whole idea of knowing how to live life as if it is a game we know how to play or a routine we know how to take part in, is that when something becomes routine, it goes into the background. It's just a background of the routine stuff we do while we're waiting to do something more exciting or something that isn't routine, something that stands out as a unique event. So then we get in this situation. We're so good at living life that it's become a routine, which means that it's no longer life, it's just a routine. It's no longer anything. It's just like zip and it's gone because there's no discontinuous bits in it. It's all a continuity. It's all the one. It's all just the one broadcast. And all of that broadcast could have been fitted into an instant picture. But what we're doing is we're extending it through space, extending it through time. And so there's no freshness, there's no newness, there's no life. It's just a repeat of what has come before, as if repeating what has come before would bestow some kind of benefit, as if that is some kind of great healthy thing to do. Then it isn't. It's fear. Fear, if we want to talk about it really simply, we could just say, well, fear has to do with what we don't know. So life is taking me continuously into what I don't know. Like Kierkegaard says, we can't know life. We can't see ahead, know how to do it, know what it is. We can't have any of that shit. We're going in blind, totally blind, and we don't know what the result's going to be. So fear is where we don't like that. We don't like the 100% risk, massive risk of, I don't know what's going to happen next, and I'm not in control, which is what life is, which is what reality is. Reality isn't an artifact of the controlling mind, not a production. It's bigger than the controlling mind, and it doesn't give a shit about the controlling mind. So the controlling mind doesn't like it and produces its own version of life, which is tame. And we all live in that tame version. And we're kind of miserable in it because it's not life at all, it's just a routine. And the thing about a routine, it just kind of zips along to the end so damn fast. Then it's over because there's nothing in it. The reason it does that is because routines are empty, repetitive, regular patterns are empty. We know they're empty. You just look at a little tiny bit of it, and it has this whatever unit, and that's repeated. That's what regular means. It means repetition. So we already know what it is, but it's been repeated over and over, extended over and over and again, over and over and over. But there's nothing there to extend, even though psychologically we would not appreciate that because when we're living in the continuum of thought, which is the same thing as hyperreality, we do feel that anything could happen. We do feel that we are in a situation where things could unfold. Good stuff can happen, also bad stuff. So we feel like we're living. Actually, that isn't true. Ain't nothing going to happen in the continuum of thought, except more of the same, because that's all the continuum of thought can do. But at the same time, and this is the key thing, more of the same is coming, but we've managed to put a kind of a gloss on it, a spin on it. It could be extra special, more of the same. Super special, more of the same. It could have bells on it or whatever the hell. So we're spinning it to think, yeah, but actually it is more of the same. It's just our spin is different. So then we can say that we've got two different types of spin. Something great is going to happen. Get excited, excited about the spin we're putting on it. Or we get frightened by it and something bad is going to happen. We get excited because something bad is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen when you're in the continuum of thought. It's all a production. It's all a simulation. Every bit of the simulation is intrinsically the same as every other bit because it's all just a simulation. It's all got the same flavour. And it's not very nice flavour. It's crappy, boring flavour. So the simulation's no good, but we have to project on it the possibility of exciting shit happening. And also bad shit happening. But we focus on the good shit, and we call this positive thinking. Good shit's going to happen. Don't you worry. And I'll still be there in 50 years. Yeah, the good shit's going to happen, but it never will. Because nothing ever happens in a logical continuity. And that's just another way of saying that nothing happens to the frozen ego. The ego which is forever the same. The ego which is forever unchanging. Same old ego, day after day, year after year, century after century. If you could look at it and see it there, the same fellow, it's the same little thing. The ego doesn't learn, the ego doesn't grow, the ego doesn't change. It's the result of looking at the world in a particular way. So when we look at the world in a particular way, rational way, that creates the notion of an ego automatically. And the ego really is the back projection of the world that we perceive ourselves to believe to exist in. So we live in this world with all this stuff in it, all these things, and we have to believe that there are all these things in the world, and that's exciting things, boring things, whatever type of things that the continuum of thought will populate for us. And the thing about that is what I'm trying to articulate, and it's slipping away from me, is that to live in a world of fixed goals or fixed ideas necessitates is the same thing as living in the world as a fixed identity, a fixed ego. Because if that ego or identity were to change even a little bit, all of those goals become meaningless. So in order to be in this modality known as goal-orientated modality, which is where we are most of the time, also known as the waiting game, because you're waiting for something good to happen, about time too. We're doing two things. We're projecting a world which isn't really there, and we're back projecting a doer or a observer who also isn't there. It's the same thing. So you've got a stick, one end of the stick is the positive world, the defined world that we know about. On the other end of that stick is the positive self, the self we know all about, the self which never changes. And because that self wants to make a go of it, it's ambitious, wants to improve its situation, it can only do that by seeing things in a static way, so that the goals always stay the same. So if I work and work and work, I'll achieve the goal, and that'll be the greatest thing ever. That, as I have just said, it means that the self can't ever grow, because growing means the stuff that we used to think was great, you look back on it and we think, it's funny, isn't it? How could I have thought that was so great? I can see now that it isn't. It's growth, outgrowing yourself. So in order to enjoy this goal-orientated behavior, this adult world that we've created for ourselves, what's necessary is the fixed and unchanging self, the ego. So everything happens to that ego. And the way we see it, the world is multifaceted, loads of stuff's happening in it, but it's all happening to this ego. That's the constant. Whatever it is happening to this ego, which kind of means that everything I only experience ego's projections. What this thing that I am projecting is going to mean for me, and it does mean something to me because I wouldn't project it if it didn't have anything to do with me. In other words, my projections are me. They're an extension of me in the future, in the imagined future. So all of this business is what we do. That's everyday life, playing the waiting game, waiting for the good stuff to happen, manipulating and controlling as best we can to increase the odds of the good stuff happening, playing the game, even though all of our manipulation is useless and nothing real is ever going to happen. We're just playing the game. So all that kind of stuff, that's not mental health. Not mental health because there's no wholesomeness in it. It's all based on deception and false perceptions. There's nothing to do us any good in that. It's a tangled knot of confused perceptions and cognitions. It has nothing to do with reality at all. That's not mentally healthy, therefore. But we can see what mental health would be by the same logic, is when the self or identity or ego stops projecting itself, stops replicating itself, and thereby freezes itself in order to enjoy things in the future, in order that it specifically can enjoy the things that it set in motion. It's like the idea of planting a tree that your grandchildren will appreciate. The ego doesn't like doing that. It wouldn't do it. There's no point to it. So the ego wants to enjoy all the benefits itself. But in order to do that, it has to live in a psychostatic kind of a way. It has to freeze everything. So what that means is if we want to let that show us what mental health is simply where we do not extend ourselves. We do not continuously preserve ourselves and make sure that the me, this particular way of looking at things, never comes to an end. So mental health is a very, very rare state of being. It's a state of being in which we have no interest in extending or projecting ourselves.